Is Michael Paul, I have a 12-year-old that attends Memorial Middle School, and a 3-year-old that's about to start preschool. I believe when he starts at 4. I attended this meeting only after learning about books. Being introduced to students to read and learn about subjects that are highly controversial, such as Kilpatrick, who has gone on the record to say to abolish the police, commented to various organizations reported on NBC and NBCSports.com, which is an idiotic statement, since even you hire police to watch your meetings and take care of our schools. Wears clothes that are dressed like police officers with little pigs dressed as police. Very disrespectful to police officers and their families. Also, there's a police, do your research a little bit, police report filed in Miami, Florida, where Mr. I know Ms. Collins, excuse me. Kaepernick is alleged to have, and I say alleged, to have drugged and got a woman in a sexual position that she did not want to be. It's Miami, Florida. We don't need our children reading these kind of books. Bad representation. I'll tell you something. We should never have books by authors who are very disrespectful to any group of people, no matter what the differences are, though especially the police, who most are good people, and keep our community safe in its structure. Without them, which may come soon if nobody wanted to be a police officer any longer. I have a lot of people that don't want to be police anymore, friends. You will live in a war era Yugoslavia, meaning no laws, meaning gangs with guns and high crime, okay? So when we go down the avenue of letting these authors come in and disrespecting our police, and look, majority of the police will even tell you too, when one of ours does wrong, we will police them. We will take care of it under the law. So why do we have these books that are anti-police, or authors, excuse me? They're anti-police, talking about police brutality. I had look at the Christians beat me up. Am I going to say all Christians are bad and they need to be abolished? No. Okay, it's very unfair to the police officers who serve a tireless job, which I would never do even though I was in the military and I fought in Fallujah. I would never do an officer's job. For you to allow books like this, my daughter and son to read, ridiculous. Thank you.
Order, Mr. Wade, and Mr. Keith, if you're present. I would like to address the agenda item on collaborative classroom books being voted on this evening. 1 year ago, we were just here discussing $200,000 of taxpayers' money going to a company called Better Lessons. They were hired to teach our teachers and staff that they should no longer teach a curriculum rooted in whiteness. When the community was made aware of this in service, we were told that the presentation was replaced because it went in a direction that Mentor Schools was not interested in going. Fast forward 1 year and here we are. You're about to enter into another $200,000 contract with yet another leftist company called Collaborative Classroom. This is the same company who tried to slip a pornographic children's book called George into the curriculum, which even you deemed inappropriate for elementary students. This company bungled the original order. They provide no teachers' materials or assessments and hide their collection behind copyrights, which they, in the name of professionalism. For these reasons alone, we should not be doing business with this company. You're about to vote on an elementary reading curriculum that is absolutely not rooted in whiteness, nor in any American culture. It is a watered-down version of a world cultures curriculum that rarely credits Americanism or traditional American values, and the cost of another $200,000 of our taxpayer money. Your explanation for the Better Lessons presentation was that it was just for teachers and not necessarily students. Your excuse for high school and middle school books was that the kids are older and this stuff is available all over the internet, so what difference does it make? And now you're trying to bring this political and leftist ideology into the elementary classrooms for 5, 6, and even 10-year-olds. These books will not leave the classrooms, and the parents have no idea what's in these books or any ongoing opportunity to read the books themselves. This is a sheer shell game. You have continued to ignore this community, you continue to avoid transparency, and you remain fiscally irresponsible with our money. Please understand what we are saying. If you go forward with a yes vote on this totally inappropriate elementary reading curriculum, then you are voting to destroy the chance of this community passing a renewal or an additional levy that comes onto the ballot. We're done. You are not listening to us. There really isn't anything left to be said except do not vote yes to adopt this curriculum. Thank you.
In Lake County, I have children in another school district, but I'm finding that school boards around this county are really trying to change the game, and I don't know what for, what they have to gain in this. But for a couple of the books that you're wanting to add to the curriculum for K through 5 is disturbing. I think children K through 5 should be focused on foundational learning, not worried about race issues, not worried about left and right agendas. They shouldn't even have to hear about that. And the fact that you guys are making an effort to put this front and center for children, their minds are molded at this age, and they should be worried about algebra and basic math and English and grammar and spelling. A lot of things that have been removed since you guys brought Common Core in. And I was fighting Common Core 12, 13 years ago when my children were in that age. And one of my daughters did not get to learn spelling. She still can't to this day. But the fact that you're wanting to push a book, Heather has 2 mommies. I just got to say this from the United States Census Bureau. It says same-sex households make up 0.8%. Let me say that again, 0.8% of all U.S. households. That's a pretty small number for that to be front and center as an agenda for a child that's trying to learn how to learn. So just wanted to bring that up. And in regards to the Colin Kaepernick, I think that that's a shameful act that you guys want to try and celebrate somebody who doesn't deserve to be celebrated. The definition of a role model, a good role model only speaks when necessary and acts when possible. A good role model listens more than they lecture. A good role model does not allow themselves to be deluded by themselves. A good role model should be a cheerful giver with a loving heart. One who is always polite and can help others and never is negative. I mean, to have kids look at a guy that basically failed in the NFL and then decided, wow, I can be a change giver and kneeling and trying to divide this country. You know, the day he started kneeling for the national anthem in sports, that was the day that I stopped watching professional sports, and I'm talking all of them. You know, that was my escape. Politics dragged into my opportunity to escape from it. Yet I find myself watching all these school boards trying to bring division into their communities secretly, not allowing or not notifying parents. You guys should be sending letters out to every taxpayer that's giving you that money to go ahead and try and teach their kids to hate this country and to hate their parents and to hate anybody that might be different, because that's what you're doing.
And I've been to many of these.
Excuse me, can you restate your name? I didn't catch it, please.
Kim Faison.
Thank you.
Currently, I homeschool my children for many reasons that are happening in this world today. There's a lot of hate going on in this world, and just coming to these meetings in itself, I've felt a lot of hatred happen, the divide happen. I'm not quite sure why it's happening. We're here to really be at a school that's supposed to focus on education, really, which means your math, your science, your history, your health, not grooming, not providing curriculum that's going to persuade a child at the age of 6's mental state when they're just developing that mentality and growing up. And I am a woman of faith, and I love everybody. I am a person that has many in my life of all likes, all diversities, all different sexual orientations, and just because I am a Christian doesn't mean I hate those individuals. But coming to these meetings, I felt from others a hatred towards me, stating that I should take my children to private school, when in reality, we're here. I grew up with a group called Project Love, not CRT. Project Love is about an act of kindness, having everyone come together, not providing what someone's sexual orientation is, not providing what someone else believes in, whether it's their faith that's different. We're here to come together, not to divide one another. And I truly believe with the curriculum that's happening, what you want to see in CRT, it's not what the media is showing you. It's different from what the media is showing you. If you actually do your research, it is really a hatred curriculum. And you might disagree, but when you really see, if you looked into Project Love, if you looked into those types of curriculums that we all grew up with at a younger age, and that was coming up in the modern day today, it was based on kindness, based on still giving God-given rights to being just ethical. And I'm seeing a lot of our morals going down the ground. And I really believe that we need to just get back to going off of the last gentleman that spoke, going back to the basics and not going into a curriculum that's going to really change the minds of our youth. And it doesn't mean by me saying this that I am not appreciating everyone for who they are or what they are, because we are all here to love one another. But we have to stop this divide. We have to stop this hate for one another, because every time we come to this meeting, there is a banter back and forth. And I'm just here to say that we have to come together in some way and stop this banter. And our curriculum definitely needs to go back to the basics. So whatever you believe that should go in the curriculum, I believe is wrong. I believe that we shouldn't talk about those different sexual orientations. And my 6-year-old will not be here in the school district if we talk about those things, because he's not at an age that he can do that. He has to be 18 and figure it out.
Thank you.
That I don't think that certain material should be taught in a classroom is the same as telling a parent that they are not allowed to parent the way that they want. These are public schools. There's multiple religions, multiple different backgrounds, different generations. Going to these schools, they're learning everything. Saying that no, these are not appropriate for children of this age collectively is not preventing anybody from parenting the way that they want. Now that being said, I do not think that any more sexually explicit material or anything like that should be introduced into the schools. And if you guys are planning on going with the company that recommended the book George that you said was not acceptable, that I don't think that we can put our trust in the board as a whole anymore. That's all.
6 years. I have 3 kids that graduated from Mentor High School. This is going to be short and sweet. We pay our taxes. It is the school's job to educate our children in subjects including math, reading, writing, geography, history, and all the subjects they need to learn. It is the parents' job to teach morals and values, not yours.
Allowing me an opportunity to speak. My name is Jerry Serino. I am the state senator for the 18th Senate District, which includes the vast majority of Mentor. And I'd like briefly to just talk about both subjects that came up tonight. First one is House Bill 99. And when we passed that bill a few weeks ago, there was a lot of confusion about what it was, and I just thought I'd offer some explanation as to what the bill is about. I think the fact that you're going to pass a resolution not to opt out of the program is perfectly fine. But I do want to say that it was permissive in that school boards have the option of whether to accept the protocol or not. I know that in the 18th Senate District, which is Portage County, half of Geauga, and 2/3 of Lake County, I did not expect many school boards to actually opt into this, because we have, in those counties, we have a very vibrant sheriff's office in all 3 counties, and we have very large police departments with SWAT teams, etc. But one of the reasons why we passed that bill was because many of the rural parts of Ohio simply don't have the kind of proximity to their sheriff's deputies and sheriff's departments and police departments that can respond to school situations. And it is those school systems that we're asking for the state legislature to act on this and to give them the opportunity, if they wish, to develop methods that would provide proper protection for the school children in Ohio. So again, it's totally permissive. The legislature did not require this to be the case. And Mentor decides not to do it, that's perfectly fine. That represents the safety of the community. I would certainly stand behind that. And very briefly on the second topic that has been talked about mostly tonight, I haven't read these books and seen the materials specifically, but I just will say something that I said in a meeting a few weeks ago with a number of superintendents from the 3 counties that I represent. And that is that I really would like to see school boards, such as actions tonight, making decisions in cooperation with parents on these very important subjects. I'd much rather have these issues dealt with locally than to have laws passed in the State House. All of these subjects are very controversial. I would just ask the board here at Mentor to listen to your parents, try to make the right decisions, and let's remember that the focus is on teaching the very basics, certainly to our children. We are behind in Ohio as a result of COVID, and we are lagging in creating careers for students to find jobs in the job market. And we need to focus all of our efforts and all of our opinions certainly on making sure we're getting the very best basic education to our children here in Lake County. Thank you very much.
I'm Ryan. I live on 5842 Tanager Court in Metro, Ohio. America is a land of individual rights, and we honor all people's rights. The fact is, when I was growing up, we used to talk between our parents, not the school, about our private parts. Key word being private. It's no longer private. You are taking it into the schools inappropriately, and as I have said before, we are not co-parenting with you. You need to stay out of the lives of our children from a moral standpoint. We can handle that. You can't seem to handle the basics, including cursive writing, including basic reading, writing, and arithmetic. Look at the scores that Mentor schools are getting. It's abysmal. I encourage you to please go back to basics. It's not anything about disliking what these people do. Their business is their business. Who they sleep with and how they sleep is none of my business, and I'm not judging them. I don't care. But I do care about how you take their approach and put it in the face of our children inappropriately. They are young, they are just being molded. The morals that we want them to live by are our morals, not the school boards and not our neighbors or anyone else's. Please honor the fact that we have our individual rights and we have our liberties, and we want you to leave our children in our homes to be grown up and raised according to our values, the same values, I should mention, that founded this country, this great exceptional country that we need to honor and stand by in all ways. And Board, I recommend and encourage you that if you want us to pay our taxes to this school, if you want us to vote for your levies, then reconsider your actions. Thank you.
I live at 7418 Hart Street, Mentor. I've raised 6 kids, put 5 of them through Mentor schools. We're putting the 6th one through Mentor schools now. I've been coming to these meetings for the last about 8 months. We got involved in all the big mask stuff that was going on. I'm sorry to say it, I repent, and I say I'm sorry for not being involved in school board meetings for the last 30 years that I've had children in school systems. I wish I had. One thing I'd like to make clear, if you go back through the last 8 meetings, I think you're going to be hard pressed to find anybody saying anything about any groups here. I've said it before and I'll say it again, no kid should ever be bullied for who and what they are. They're trying to find who and what they are. But no kid should be forced by a teacher who's supposed to educate to accept something that maybe goes against their rights and their ideas and their beliefs. It's not a teacher's job to teach my kid anything but reading, writing, arithmetic, history, whatever you want to call it. We don't pay athletes to teach our kids. Athletes are paid to entertain our kids. They're not role models, they're athletes that entertain people. These books, I have no idea why these books are being forced on young kids that cannot make decisions on their own yet. It's not right. The sex education beginning in kindergarten is absolutely appalling. And I will stand as a father, as a parent, as a God-fearing man, and I will oppose that until I have no breath left in my lungs. We cannot do that as a school system. Cannot. And I would ask, and I would like to ask, that the board would start listening to everybody. And I think there's a big group of people that are being completely ignored while these books and all these politically charged agendas are being forced on our kids. I have no idea where that falls under education, but I don't believe in it. My wife and I will raise our kids the best way we see fit. We appreciate you sticking to education. We appreciate you being transparent and telling us what you're going to do in the classrooms and not hiding things. And we know there are things being hidden. Please, for the love of God, listen to everybody that's trying to say, hey, we want the best for our children. And I'm not standing there saying that you don't, but there's definitely some things that are being done that don't indicate that people are looking out for the best for our children.
62 Wixford Lane in Mentor. My children did go to Mentor schools. I'm a Mentor High grad, and I want to tell you that it was very diverse in my time. That was 27 years ago, hard to believe. But I want to thank you for all the efforts that you've done, the things that you've taught me, and ultimately lead to my success where I'm at today. I do have family members, co-workers, and friends that are part of LGBTQ. I went to school with members here. I think things are very diverse. I would caution the board against accepting anything that's controversial or may create more confusion. Unfortunately, I've had to deal with children in the school system and outside of the school system that have been victims or friends of suicide in the school system. So I respectfully ask that you strongly consider what you're looking at and evaluating, and that you find things that steer away from values that are reserved for family members. Unfortunately, some of the decisions that I've made over the years, my son is a Mentor Schools child that doesn't know how to sign his name. So, that was a mistake. Obviously, you live and learn. But the point of this is that I work with police officers that are leaving in very large numbers. And we're concerned about, school members having firearms and so forth. We need to do everything in our power to protect and try to get more law enforcement, more people interested in it, and looking at curriculums of people that really make a difference in our community as far as the military, law enforcement, and many others. But just strongly reconsider what decision you make, because it has a significant impact on young impressionable minds that can make some very foolish decisions, especially related to suicide and so forth, and really reserve those values to the parents. Thank you.
I operate a gym in Mentor, and I grew up here my entire life. So I wasn't planning on speaking tonight or anything like that, and after listening to a multitude of speakers, I thought I should say something. Now, owning a gym, I train kids from 5 years of age to 80 plus years old. Now, a lot of the kids that I train do go to Mentor schools. They go to local schools around the county, and some even drive hours away to come here. And being me, I like to talk about a lot of things, and I bring up politics, political stuff. It's cool. Now, when I went to Mentor, I had 6 friends commit suicide, and I was a nurse. And when I was nursing in the ED, I had 3 friends come in that overdosed, and it stemmed from Mentor High. It stemmed from bullying in Mentor High. Now, did I personally see it? I did. And I stood up for a lot. I think you guys, if you went around and asked, I was known to stick up for those who didn't have a voice themselves. My issue with these books is not so much with the books themselves, it's with empathy. Do these kids have empathy yet? What I see is it creating more divide than good. I think those books would be good down the road a little bit. They should know that everyone's created equal and we should respect everyone. But do they have the right mindset to truly understand the books and what the impact will be? Or are we going to mold them a certain way where they're going to have one point of view that stemmed from a young age, and it's going to be hard to kick that when really they don't have the knowledge or empathy to see both sides of the story. What we're talking about with these books is mostly current events. This isn't history. I think there needs to be time. I really think you guys should take into account and talk to these kids. Because at the end of the day, I think it's going to create more controversy and more bullying. But they should have the right to choose, and I just think at the right mindset and level and knowledge, which they don't have below 5th grade, really. People are still gaining empathy at 13 plus years of age. It showed in a recent study, I can't quote it off the top of my head here, but it was a 13-year-old girl study, a study up to 13-year-olds, and it was boys and girls, and it showed that the women who turned 13 were just beginning to grasp the full concept of empathy, which is putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Now, Heather has 2 moms, that's fine, but do they understand that? Or is it going to be, hey, my mom has, or I grew up with 2 moms, and then they're going to get made fun of? Now, that's my concern. Is there going to be more bullying? Is there going to be more controversy? Are they going to understand? Or are they going to look down on each other for reasons they don't truly grasp yet? That's really all I have to say, is take that into account and talk to these kids, because the things I hear, I'm going to a concert tomorrow. I'll give you an example. I have a lot of friends who are trans, who are gay, who identify as this and that. I love them to death. I see them as a human. I don't see them as anything else. And tomorrow night when we go to that concert, I'm going with a friend. I'm not going with somebody, I'm not putting a name attached to it, and she wouldn't do that either. So these books, really, you gotta pay attention, talk to the kids, really think it's gonna cause a lot more controversies, and we'll see what happens, but try to talk.
I was raised with values that I've passed on to my children have been to value life. And whatever representation that was, there was a life there to be valued. But there are also moral issues that must be established within that household. And in those moral values, there is a guardrail that is put into my children's life that I don't expect anyone else to move those guide markers for them. The things that matter to me as a man of faith, as a man of God, is the Word of God. The Word of God is what hems me in, is what provides me with that safety. I don't believe that it is right for anyone to not be loving, not be kind, not be gentle towards anyone, regardless of what their values are. But at the same time, when those things are put into my children's lives and put before them in a way that, and at a time where many were talking about kids that don't have the ability to process right from wrong, and moving those guide markers outside of my knowledge, outside of the position that the administration, and here's one thing I want to say that I understand. I understand that this is not something that just comes from the Mentor School Board. It's not just something that comes from the teachers. I have the utmost respect for the teachers. I don't believe I can put absolute trust in any person to watch over and take care of my children. I believe that's primarily my responsibility. Amen. But I want to say this, that I realize also that there is pressure that is coming nationally in the education system that they are calling you as leaders to acquiesce. I believe there are Christian teachers, I believe there are Christian administrators that feel muzzled and feel muffled because of the fact that their position is at risk if they speak up against some of the curriculum that is being presented and proposed for our children. You can say, well, we're not making that mandatory. Listen, if you put something before a 5-year-old that they're not able to actually process and to be able to determine, you're exposing them to something that can very well set a course in their thinking. When a child is coming up, especially in those middle school teen years, it is a very confusing and trying time for every child.
They're struggling to find their identity, they're struggling to find who they are. We went through that, I know everyone goes through that. But when we offer these reasons for it that don't actually pertain to where that child is at, we lead them down the road. And I will tell you that I work a lot with young people, a lot with young teens, I work a lot with young adults. I have struggled in the past to find a generation like the one we're looking at now that is more shrouded in a spirit of darkness. They're desperate. Many of them are suicidal. Many of them now we're seeing across the board are graduating to a point where they're homicidal. There is a real identity crisis in our kids, and I believe we're trying to put them into boxes they really don't belong in. And we're exposing them to things and telling them this is the reason why you're feeling what you're feeling that has absolutely nothing to do with where they actually are. You cannot do that with our kids. We need to be active, involved parents, watching, taking care of our children.